What are some of the things that you guys do to save money on a fixed income? If you're retired, if you're living on Social Security, or you're just getting by, what are some of the things that you're doing that can make it easier on you? And maybe some of these things you guys have not even thought about. But I'm going to go into about 10 to 15 things that my wife and I do on an everyday basis in order to save money. We'll go ahead and start with when we go to the grocery store, we have a list, because if you don't, you will certainly going to spend more money. That happens every time that we don't have a list. You'll see something in the aisles that you think you might want, but stay with the list. Whatever's on the list is what you buy. It's kind of like if you're ordering groceries and picking them up, that will save too, because you're not looking at that other stuff that they're promoting to try to get you to buy. So that's one thing we do. And we try to buy food where we can make multiple meals out of it. Excuse me, still getting over these bruised ribs. So we may make chili makings, vegetable soup, things that will stretch out. Sometimes if we're going to eat salmon, we'll go ahead and make a batch and then eat it for a couple days and then throw a couple sides together. So those are a couple things that we do as far as food goes. We also have a pantry where we keep stuff in Mylar bags. And that's if SHTF hits a fan. We have several dried items like beans and rice, and I could just go on and on of the things that we have put in Mylar bags. And I think these are some of the important things you need to think about. Say a severe storm hits and you can't get to the store for a few days. Make sure that you've got a backup plan. Make sure you have things in your pantry that you can stretch out if those times arise. So as far as other things in the house we do, we don't use stuff like expensive toilet paper anymore, and I won't name the name brands. You guys know what they are. I found out by buying those items early on in our marriage, we thought it was the best. I was still working, so we would buy expensive toilet paper. But what we found out, we wound up calling the plumber at least twice a year because of that thick toilet paper would not go through the main drain line. So we had to change up, and a plumber told us, use the cheaper toilet paper. And if you're going to use a little more of it, at least you're going to get something that's not going to clog up your drains and your sewer line, where it's going to cost you another $300 or $400 a year for a plumber. So that's one thing that we also recognized and changed up. When we eat, we don't use paper towels or napkins. We bought, look like hand cloths, but you can buy them online, cloth napkins where you can actually rewash those and reuse those all the time. So that made more sense than wasting paper towels, napkins, stuff you're just going to throw away. And we're speaking of paper towels, another thing that we think is important to do is rewash the paper towels, unless you're buying the really cheap brand. But if you're buying the expensive brand, wash those out and use those 2 to 3 times. Because if you just pick up a spill with those and throw it away, you just wasted money is what you did. So we do that. That's one of the little things. Let's talk about heat in the wintertime. Here's something I found out, that you can turn, if you got a ceiling fan in the living room or a family room or whatever, you can turn that on low, on reverse, and you can actually circulate that air coming up from the furnace, if it's coming from the floor, to where it pulls it up and actually pushes it back down the walls, which is actually giving you a better coverage of heat in that room by doing that. So that's another thing that if it's really cold out, we'll do that, because that seems to really help on our utility bills. Speaking of utilities, we try to keep our thermostat a couple degrees higher than the wintertime. If we have to wear a shirt like this or a sweater, that's what we'll do. So typically we keep our heat on about 67 in the wintertime, and that's very comfortable for us. And then in the summertime, we'll run the air conditioner, the central air. We'll probably keep it around 73 to 74 degrees. That seems to be very comfortable with us in the summertime. Now, one good thing if you live on in a house with a crawl space, which I do, and of course if you have an attic, you want to insulate that floor in the crawl space. I did that many years ago. I insulated all the floor joists in the crawl space to keep heat from escaping. And make sure you have good blown insulation up in the attic to where you're going to be sufficient where the heat's not just going to go right through the roof. So you don't want to excuse me, you don't want to over insulate either, because if you over insulate, you can trap moisture in that insulation. You don't want to do that because moisture will build up at the bottom part of that where the ceiling is, and if it's got nowhere to escape, especially if you blow the insulation clean up into the eave areas of the house, you don't want that. You need to have that to be able to breathe, shall we say. And that's where roof vents and things like that are very important on your construction of your home. That's another thing we do. If we're going to go to the grocery store, we'll try to make it all in one trip. We won't try to go one grocery store and then go by another day. We try to make it in one day. And we don't shop just one grocery store either. We'll go to a box store like Walmart or Kroger's, and then we may go to Aldi's to pick up some other items. Then we may finish up at a local meat shop here that we have. And so we'll do different things depending on who's got what on sale that week. So you got to make sure you look at your digital coupons online if you have them and purchase and go ahead and clip those digital coupons, because that's going to save you money when you get to the store. So find out what's on sale. Chicken may be cheaper at Walmart one week, and it may be cheaper at Kroger's the next week. So we try to pay attention to that when we're grocery shopping. Now, you also want to try to go with a fixed amount of money that you want to spend. If you have $60, $80, $100, if you still got kids at home and you need to spend more money, but stay within that budget. Don't go over, because if you do, you just defeated the purpose of the grocery haul. So that's a couple things we do in the grocery store. As far as gasoline, we just try to find the cheapest gas you can find. I know there's a big conversation, which is better, electric or gas fueled vehicles. I will never jump on board with electric vehicles. Our infrastructure is not set up. There's not enough charging stations. They don't tell you about the home chargers that you need. And sometimes you have to have your house rewired in order to do that. Because if you just try to plug into a socket in the house, it's going to take you 15 to 20 hours to charge that vehicle. So you got to make sure that your home is ready for that. And I don't think our country is ready for electric vehicles. That's my opinion. And I'll probably get some comments on that one as well. Again, I think seniors like us, we don't jump into that mentality of saving the earth. And there's nothing bad about doing that, but it's something that it's pennies on the dollar, guys. And if you use them electric vehicles, and then you got to worry about the stress of, am I going to get to where I'm going? Am I going to get home? When it's really cold out in the wintertime, just like e-bikes, lithium batteries do not do well in the cold weather. So those are some of the things that you got to pay attention to. But again, you want to, if you're thinking about buying a new vehicle, I think it's best to just think twice. Go buy you a year or 2-year-old vehicle, something that's still running very well, because you lose so much value of that new vehicle once you drive it off a lot, which you guys all know that. I'm preaching to the choir here. But, you just have to pay attention to what fuel prices are in your area and try to take advantage of that. But don't drive out of your way to get gas just to save money, because you're in that point you're just losing money. But just got to think of different things that you can do around the house that's little, that can save you money, and it can be the simplest of things as well. Keep doors shut to rooms that you're not using. That's just keeping the entire house colder in the wintertime if you do that. And you got to just make sure that if you're going to be in, as I always tell people, if you can only live in one room at a time. So people go buy these mega mansions or a bigger home. We're still in our starter home since 1977. And here we are, 2026. Don't have to worry about stairs. We live in a little 960 square foot house. I got a patio enclosure on the back of the house. It's my man cave / prepper pantry / studio for my videos. But today we're sitting in the living room and we're doing this video here. So yeah, let me know what you guys do on an everyday basis. How do you save money? What do you do that can cut back cost? Because when you're on a retired income on Social Security, fixed income is fixed. We don't just eat out like we used to. We'll eat out once or twice a week sometimes, and that's only because we can afford it. But if I couldn't afford it, I wouldn't be doing that. So yeah, share your thoughts with me down in the comment section. What do you guys do to save money? I just want to share with you what we do. So yeah, share, like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and I'll see you on the next video.